everybody. Welcome into the show. I'm your host, Loretta McNary, and we have a wonderful show for you today. One that's going to inform you, inspire you, may entertain you a little, but you will be so well versed in what's going on in our communities and maybe something that you can get involved in as well. Please welcome to the show for the very first time, Reginald Harris. He is the president of the Mackey Foundation.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been the president of this organization, and tell us what the organization does?
Been the president going on 2 years now. We do a lot at the foundation, the Mackey Foundation, but specifically here in Memphis, we do the mentorship program called IMIT, which is Men in Training. Okay. And, you know, there are a lot of mentorship programs out there, but the only thing that maybe kind of sets us apart is that we focus more on making sure that the kids are exposed to as much as possible. We take trips with them. We do etiquette classes. Dress for Success. We partner with First Tee. And
what, Nyrone? What's his name? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, partner with First Tee, and also this is actually the 5th state that we're in. The foundation began in Augusta, Georgia, and we're just now coming here to Memphis. So we're excited about all the things we have going on.
Yeah, you mentioned that there are a lot of other mentoring programs, and that's certainly true, but I still don't think we can have more than enough. I think there's more young people to go around, and everybody can serve them, and then there can be some duplications, because most organizations offer something different or put a different spin on it, like you said, that makes them unique. So I think we need more programs. So if somebody's watching and you want to know how you can start a mentoring program, please call Reginald, and he can help walk you through that. But what was the inspiration for the president, I mean, not the president, but the founder?
The founder.
Founding this program?
The founder, actually, he lost both of his parents to AIDS and HIV in 91 and 93. He was one of the first, him and his sister, one of the first 2 AIDS orphans in America. And so, of course, losing both his parents, not really understanding what's going on, he kind of turned his life in the wrong direction. And then, probably around his mid-20s, he kind of got back on track. And from that point on, he has been focused on giving back. And our connection, when his parents died, him and his sister actually came to live with us here in Memphis. And so, you know, our families have kind of been intertwined since then. So that's, you know, that's kind of where we come from.
So when he asked you to be on board, it was like a no-brainer, of course.
I was already doing the work of the president, but then he was like, here, you take the title. So, so yeah, like I said, it's my goal and my plan to push this thing. And like you said, as far as if anybody is looking to start a program, that's what we're all about. This is not about exclusivity. It was about, you know, trying to duplicate what we're doing all across the country. And with that, you know, we will come in, if anybody is interested in starting, maybe at their church, at the community center, you know, by all means, because especially with the things that are going on right now in our society, this is our way of fighting back. We may not have all the picket signs out, but child by child, we're making sure that we're, you know, keeping them out of harm's way.
So what's the age range for the young
The age range, 6th grade to 12th grade. And one thing that we do, we kind of specialize more. And when I say specialize, we keep the groups somewhat small because we want to make sure that each child has the, you know, one-on-one contact that they need with the mentors. And, you know, we follow them all the way through high school. And so that's another reason that we don't have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of kids in the program. Because I think, you know, and I've been a part of some other Big Brother programs which are good, but what happens sometimes is they kind of fall through the cracks because there's so many boys. But with what we do, we kind of specialize, and we have some great mentors on team, and they're dedicated. It's a retired principal. We got some business owners, other educators. I used to be a guidance counselor, and I'm a business owner as well now. So we, you know, we try to expose the kids to as much as we can. But the biggest thing is that these mentors are dedicated and faith-based.
That's great. And I'm so glad that you said that you are a business owner. You used to be a guidance counselor for 2 reasons. One, because I just think that's awesome to own your own business and being, you know, a male, and specifically a black male. And then secondly, you used to be a guidance counselor, so you have a lot of inroads to what can make a very successful future for a young person. And then that you do all of that, and then you still, and then you're a husband, you're a father, and you still make the time, find the time to help are young men. And I hear a lot of, well, I'm going to do that when I retire, or I will do that when I get more money, or I will do that when, you know, the sky turns purple. Well, let me tell you what happens. We'll see a lot more of what we've been seeing across this country.
Yes.
If people continue to wait on treasure, talents, and resources when these things that are happening in our community that are really, you know, taking lives, breaking families apart, causing people to do things that they probably wouldn't do under other circumstances and get, you know, go to jail. And so these programs where people may say, well, that's just like with my Pink Eagles. Well, you're just with them on Tuesday for 90 minutes. Well, you know what? That changes lives. 90 minutes a week changes a lot of lives.
That's right.
What you do, however long you do it, all you have to do is do it from your heart, and it will reach their hearts. And we can't save everybody. Well, they said we can, but I believe if enough of us got involved, we can. But what about the people that we can help and save? So that's why you have to move. You have to get started. So with all the other hats that you wear, Reginald, and when you are meeting with the young men, what is it about that really fulfills you?
Well, I don't know if it's, well, fulfill would be a good word, but it's more of like a responsibility.
Oh, okay.
Because when I really kind of stepped back and looked at the whole dynamic, it's what we're supposed to do. A lot of times, you know, you have different guys out there, and I'm not knocking anybody, but some of them think as though they should get a gold medal, gold star for mentoring and helping out. It's kind of like, it's kind of like me bringing home milk, okay? If I bring home a gallon of milk, my kids are not going to throw me a parade for bringing home milk. Daddy, that's what you're supposed to do. We need our milk. Well, the same thing if my neighbor, my brother is in need. If something happens and the father's not there, and the single mother, I mean, they're in my community, whether we live right next to each other or whatever, this is my community. So I'm supposed to take care of this boy, because who else is going to take care of him? And so I guess when I look at it, when you said fulfills, it's not so much of a feeling. It's what I'm supposed to do.
It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And you were at the Kindle Award on Friday
yes,
with me, and who was it? Michael Mason. He said it is a privilege to serve. It's my responsibility to, and then you're saying it's my responsibility to serve. And most people think it's an afterthought, but I feel like that too. I'm obligated. I'm obligated to give back to my girls and to be whatever I can to help them, because it makes no sense if my boys are cool and they're successful, they're educated, they're doing really well, and they're learning, they're growing. But then, like you said, and neighbors are not just the people who live next door to you. You know, we're all a community, and it's not a black community, a white community, an Asian community. We're all, and I said this, American. So we are, like you said, it is our responsibility to help somebody. You know, and we can all do that. We can all do that. And so I want to make sure we give people your contact information, and then we'll give it again later in the show. But how can they reach you? What's your website so they can get more information?
The McKieFoundation.com. It's MCKIE Foundation.com. And also the number that we can be reached at is here. It's 1-800-827-3035.
Okay. How can they get their, is this an all-year program?
It's all year round.
So how can they get their son involved?
Well, contact the number, and what we'll do, if we don't have enough mentors for them, then we will start another one, particularly for their school. Right now, we're in Bellevue Middle School. Is where we do a lot of our work out of. And we just have a great partnership with the principal. They have a great educational program. Kevin Malone is the principal, and he's allowed us to come in and work with some of his young men there. So, you know, they can just contact us in case by case, and we'll do what we need to do to get them to the services that they need.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I know people are going to contact you, because especially with everything happening in the spotlight is really on African-American black males in this country, not so much for something positive, but for something negative, kind of, sort of. And so what I wanted to do with this show and any other show that we do is to spotlight, because people are doing the work.
Yes.
People are doing the work, and they're doing it diligently, and they're doing it sacrificially every day, every day. But what happens, people don't know about the programs. They don't know. Some single mom hopefully is watching this, or somebody who knows a single mom with sons or a son is watching it. There is help. You don't have to do it alone.
That's right.
And it makes a difference when a man is talking to a male child. It just makes a big difference.
It does. And really mentoring, the whole premise behind mentoring is being able to shadow and reflect off the person that you're watching. And so, you know, if all you have is a woman figure there, it's going to be tough for you to grow up and, you know, live a lifestyle that is a true man's lifestyle unless you have a man in front of you.
Yeah.
And so, like you said before, even though you give only 90 minutes a week, that's still
Yeah.
that little bit of time. I mean,
It's
you'd
huge.
be amazed.
It is so huge, and I can see it. It's like they just blossom right in front of me. And some of my girls have been with me 3 years, some 4, some 6 weeks, some 4 months, and at their own pace, they all get it, and they want more because you constantly feeding them, and I'm consistent. And that's the key. You have to be consistent. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, because a lot of them are used to people letting them down.
That's right. That's right.
And so when you're consistent, then all of a sudden they start, okay, she's going to be there. Let me test her. Of course, they want to test you too to make sure you're going to do and be consistent and be who you say you're going to be. And then after that point, and then true love comes in, true trust.
That's it. That's
and respect comes in. Because when it was just automatic respect if somebody was older than you. But now, these days, these children have seen so much, been told, you know, fabricated to so many times, you got to earn their trust and their respect.
You got to work at it. That's correct.
You know, and that's not right or wrong. That's just the way it is for some of them. So I just wanted to make sure you came on to talk about what you all are doing so that people can understand one person can make a difference.
That's right.
You know, and then that one person gives another person, you become 2, and you can, and the Bible talks about it too. You know, how 2 people come together, there's 10,000, not 2 more people, but that number just, kingdom math just blows me away.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
right. Exponential.
Yeah, exactly. It is nothing like this math that we deal with here. But I just want people to understand that you can do something. Everybody can do something. And until we all decide we have to do something, we'll continue to see more of what we see.
And it's no signs of it getting any better.
No.
No signs. And
because it's going to have to be some realness. It's going to have to be some trust built. It's going to have to be programs, training, education, and just having somebody's back.
That's right.
You know, showing people a different way to do things. And because we'll never if we keep pointing fingers, we'll never get anywhere. Because we constantly just spending time pointing fingers. Let's give solutions, because there are solutions. There's solutions. So tell me about the book. Tell me. It's called Living in the Shadows, Adversity Creates Purpose. Ooh, yes, it does.
It does.
Adversity does create purpose.
It is, the book is about 3 years old now, but it is a excellent example showing the life from the beginning, middle, and end of a true success story. And even from the beginning, the way that Yennik Mackey, it's Y-E-N-N-I-K Mackey, the way that he was brought up, excellent household. I think his parents, they were making 6 figures in the 80s. And then HIV/AIDS happens.
Wow.
Loses both his parents. And then immediately, you know, the security leaves.
That he once had.
Wow. And there's a twist in there too. The way, I'm not going to give the whole book
I want to read it. Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
But there's a couple twists in there too, but at the end, the adversity that he went through in his life, and many others, and everybody has some level of adversity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the biggest thing is being able to determine how is that shaping me into the thing that God wants me to be. Because we all know that the stuff that we go through is not by accident.
No.
It has to be some type of purpose for what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing about this book is showing you how he used his adversity to create his purpose. And I think that it's a good springboard for everyone to be able to look back and analyze their life, whether they've gone through molestation, whether they've had fighting homosexuality, poverty, whatever it may be. Being able to locate these things, analyze them, and see, okay, well, God, what is it that you want me to do with this stuff that's been laid on me. Because a lot of times the things that happen to us, I mean, they're literally laid on us. Some things we happen, some things we cause to happen, some stuff just happens. And so it's not so much of getting a pity party or getting sad. It's figuring out, what do I need to do with this stuff that I'm having to deal with. And
so, and that is a great point. So what I want to do, I really want us to talk about that, because I have friends at every level. I have friends who are really, you know, going through some stuff, wish they had more stuff, need people to help give them stuff. And then I have what America calls the middle class people, you know, which they say, you know, we're dwindling. And then I have these friends who have enough money that if they wrote a check, a lot of stuff would, you know, be okay temporarily, unless there's some education in that too.
Yes.
So I want us to just kind of encourage people and share some information, because I know you're a speaker too, and you can help empower and inspire people. But we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back in just a moment, everybody. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.